Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Neil, and with me today is Tyler Merritt, the CTO at UneeQ. UneeQ is a global leader in digital human technology, providing lifelike and emotionally intelligent AI-powered virtual beings for businesses seeking to elevate customer experiences. UneeQ's platform enables organizations to create highly personalized interactions that drive engagement, foster trust, and deliver exceptional value. Welcome, Tyler. Great to have you
Hey,
on today's episode.
thank you so much, Tara. Thanks for having me here. Good morning.
Oh, yep. Morning to you too. Okay, so let's start. Looking at telco customer service, right? What are the biggest gaps and challenges that you see?
Yeah, I think it's a familiar experience for anybody, anywhere on the
Mm-hmm.
globe. You need to make a change to your account or investigate adding a line, something like that. And you're bounced between at least three to four people. It feels like no
Yep.
matter what you
Tell
call in
me
for,
about
no
it.
matter
Yeah.
what
Yep. Yep.
option you select, right?
Yep.
There's like, oh, I need to get you to the next department. So there appears to be an enormous disconnect internally, right? And I spent the early part of my career in telecom, so there's some historical context where these modern companies are conglomerates of many, many, many smaller companies that
Mm-hmm.
have been acquired, and they have the challenge of integrating. So it's not a mystery why there's the disconnect, but it is a
Mm-hmm.
problem. It's a problem for all of us as
Mm-hmm.
consumers,
Mm-hmm.
and so we are focusing on certain ways with modern technologies to solve that disconnect, and that's where the digital humans come in.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, yeah, when we look at, telecom customer service experience and everyone's talking about, they want to make it seamless, they want to make it omni-channel, they want to not have to repeat, their problems again as they, like what you mentioned, you get passed from one person to the other and you have to bring out the entire history of what happened. And I think it's really cumbersome, it's really annoying, and that if you actually get to the right person, sometimes you can't even get through the numbers. So true enough, it's something that we need to address. And I think one thing that comes up in these conversations is this concept of AI digital humans. It's pretty intriguing. We have the word digital, we have the word humans, and we have the word AI. So maybe you can explain what this concept is and how are these digital humans helping us address the challenges we spoke about.
Yeah, sure. So, as I said, I spent the early part of my career in telecom. At that time, VoIP, was the new thing, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was an uncomfortable shift from analog into the world of digital. And here we are, fast forward 20 years, we're at another shift where we are shifting from passive humans programming the computer with commands to artificial intelligence that
Mm-hmm.
is effectively the computer speaking human, right? We taught it how
Mm-hmm.
to talk like us, finally.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a large language model is. It is a representation of language, and it gives the computer, in its own mathematical function of way of thinking, it
Mm-hmm.
gives that computer an understanding of human speech and human language. And so we can talk to it the way we talk to each other. They're getting monstrously effective. I'm sure you've
Mm-hmm.
used AI tools, right, to have a chat and ask a question, and
No,
you
I
will have
it, it's
experienced,
it's
yeah,
it's my lifeline actually.
yeah, yeah, and I
you
think for many people, the data is
yeah.
showing that there's this enormous shift away from passively asking questions to search
Mm-hmm. Yep.
engines,
Yep.
and just interacting with what they perceive as something that, like, I'm not going to call them conscience or anything, but they're switched
Mm-hmm.
on in a way that even a year ago wasn't the case.
Yep.
So we are now saying the machine can talk like us. Well, if it's going to be like us, there are other parts of us beyond just the talking, beyond just the
Mm-hmm.
words, right? We,
Yep.
as humans, we have a whole volume of communication that doesn't involve language, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
body it's facial expression. Sometimes it's silence.
Yep.
Sometimes we're
Yep.
communicating volumes by not saying anything.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you know
Yep.
the interesting part of the journey to AI digital humans is that the human element, the actual organic person, me and you, we aren't going to suddenly not need those emotional cues, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have it deep within us that the expression somebody gives
Yep.
matters in what
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to communicate. So all we are trying to do at Unique is give the AI that capability that the
Mm-hmm.
human itself brings to the conversation, right? So I want to
Okay.
make sure that people really understand why we are creating these emotionally connected digital humans has everything to do with serving the
Mm-hmm.
human, because the human shows up to the conversation sort of pre-programmed,
Mm-hmm.
right, as we all
Mm-hmm.
are, with our
Yes.
personalities and
Yes.
our culture and our kind of like
Yep.
deep-seated understanding of subtle cues.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are in us. We just want the digital human to have the ability to participate in the conversation the way that the human expects. So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to sort of serve what the person unconsciously wants. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we see with some of the results. So if you don't, if you don't mind, some of the results that we've recently published,
Mm-hmm.
one of our customers, the city of Amarillo, a
Mm-hmm.
state local government in, Amarillo, Texas. It's kind of up in the panhandle part, if you're
Mm-hmm.
unfamiliar. It
All right.
has 200,000 plus residents. They have a variety of backgrounds of people who have immigrated and settled there. There's one
Mm-hmm.
middle school
Mm-hmm.
where 62 separate languages are spoken by the children. I mean,
Wow.
that's an incredible problem of
Mm-hmm.
communication that is similar to what we're
Mm-hmm.
describing with our telco thing. It's very
Yep.
disconnected. You have kids
Mm-hmm.
from everywhere and they all want to participate, but there is a language barrier. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a real practical language barrier. The telco thing is more like a bunch of systems that are broken apart, but that's another form of a language barrier, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have systems
Mm-hmm.
that don't, have the same data and can't interact, and that's we're
Mm-hmm.
just using a metaphor here.
Mm-hmm.
But these kids need to be, this is how you get a library card. This is
Okay.
where the park is, and that you could play at the park until a certain time. They
Okay.
introduced a digital human to communicate across these different cultures and peoples, and they've published, this is like came out last week, 98% customer satisfaction with their digital human named Emma. And
Mm-hmm.
that blew me away. We thought that digital humans were good and effective, certainly more effective than like a chatbot or, sending an email to some support email address that nobody ever looks at. We
Mm-hmm.
certainly believed digital humans were going to be more effective, but I didn't, in my wildest dreams, expect it to have a 98% customer satisfaction rating, because you can't get 98% of anybody to agree on anything,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So it
exactly.
was,
Exactly. That's a big number there. Yeah.
it's a huge number, and
Mm-hmm.
it was over I think 16,000 interactions
Mm-hmm.
over the past period of time. I can't remember exactly the start and finish of their sample size, but these are community people that are like
Mm-hmm.
people interacting with their government. Like if we talk about telco and we say
Yep.
it's very difficult for the consumer to interact with the business, it's only exacerbated when you say the citizens interacting with their state and local authorities, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
that's just the
Mm-hmm.
metaphor to the extreme.
Yep.
And so if digital humans are having such success in that arena, which is, let's say it's a hostile environment, right? Let's say that the
Mm-hmm.
citizenry interacting with their government is
Mm-hmm.
usually it's like a confrontational mindset, like, oh, I have
Yep.
to go renew
Mm-hmm.
my driver's license. You get
Yes,
quite
exactly.
frustrated,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that confrontational mindset is precisely why we say the digital human has to be emotionally aware, and that's what we
Mm-hmm.
focus on, because the human shows up to that interaction
Mm-hmm.
with an emotional charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are like in the telco. Let's go back to the telco. If I'm calling my telco provider, whom I won't
Mm-hmm.
mention because
Yeah.
just some
Okay.
company, right?
So, some
If I
company. Yep.
call,
Mm-hmm.
I'm already sort of in a bad mood. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yes.
Because
That's
I
when
don't
we
want to
call
have to
actually.
do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I show up to that conversation with the company, and it's already they're on the back foot. They already have
Mm-hmm.
to like blow me away in order to bring me back to like level, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have to do extra to take me from the minus into
Yep.
the zero neutral, and then finally
Yeah.
to the positive when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
things like customer satisfaction and net promoter score.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so fun to have a digital human pop up on these pages for these companies. We have a number of telco companies, some of which haven't released, but we're in the last like couple weeks, and you'll probably see them popping up around the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and over in Europe. Under NDA, not going to mention names. There are
Mm-hmm.
obviously not that many telcos, so you can trust that it will be a well-known brand. But
All right. Okay.
when these characters start popping up, I think there's going to be a moment where the
Mm-hmm.
human who's in that negative mindset of, oh man, I got to deal with this. I think when they see that pop up, they immediately turn into curiosity. What's this? This is
Mm-hmm.
new. Haven't seen this before. And so we are able, just by existing, just by appearing,
Mm-hmm.
we suddenly shift some of the consumer mindset away from that negative charged interaction
Mm-hmm.
towards a more interested, curious, cautiously optimistic, at a very least,
Mm-hmm.
frame of motion. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's hard to do. It's hard to switch somebody emotionally with
Yep.
technology.
Yep.
Most technology frustrates people who don't like technology,
Yep.
and even people who really like technology. There are everybody's got like a preference of the way they
Mm-hmm.
want their interface and their technology
Mm-hmm.
served up to them, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
so this is kind of the first time certainly in my life, where we have the ability to affect an emotional outcome with technology right from the beginning, right from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of value to businesses that now suddenly they don't have to approach everything as a potential conflict that needs diffusing,
Mm-hmm.
right? They
Mm-hmm.
can suddenly actually be in the business of serving the customer the functional outcome that the customer wants, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
actually, sorry to just go on even more. I started my career in a call center. So in level one support, I was
Mm-hmm.
taking those calls from those customers.
Okay.
And so I completely understand that the first thing that I was doing on every one of those calls was, "Hey, how you doing? Let's calm down." Not I didn't say that, but like it was the first thing in my mind was, let's get this person to a point where we can have a conversation, because they
Yep.
probably showed up to
Yes.
yell. Or I mean,
Yes.
they probably
Yes.
are here to sort of give me a piece of their mind. And
Yep.
we got to get through that,
All right.
right? That
Okay.
part's really
Yep.
important to them. They need to release that tension and stress, and
Yep.
that's de-escalation and all those terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that was the job. The job was to sort of diffuse, and then when we get to, level a kind of zero marker,
Mm-hmm.
then we could actually say, how can I help you?
Oh
Right? And
yes.
so
Yes.
the digital human, I'm sitting here, of course, CTO now, but I'm remembering myself as a new grad from college, first job, and I'm thinking, wow, look at this. 25 years have elapsed, and I'm back doing the same thing, but
Yep.
now I have the digital human to take all of my learnings of that
Mm-hmm.
and to try
Mm-hmm.
and do it at scale, because I was only one guy on a phone at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
these characters, they can appear for everybody simultaneously. Every
Yep.
customer who
Yep.
needs help,
Mm-hmm.
pop,
Mm-hmm.
there you are. What can I do for you? You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an incredible space to be in, because we are taking on the definition of emotion. And that's
Yep.
like language. Language has rules. You have, subject, verb, object, or whatever. There's
Mm-hmm.
grammar. There's a way to kind of model that in math, which is
Mm-hmm.
what a large language has ultimately achieved.
Mm-hmm.
But emotions, very, very different,
Yep.
right? And I
Exactly.
don't I don't know
It's
that there is a mathematical model,
yeah, yeah.
right?
This is really intriguing because you know what, like what you said. Okay, when at any touch point, any customer touch point, right? They come in and then you say that this digital human pops up, and that changes the mood. As soon as they start interacting with this digital element, has a name and then interacts, looks like a human, interacts like a human, and seems to take all those cues and has a certain level of emotional intelligence, and then
Mm-hmm.
it shifts you, from a certain mood that you are in to a mood where you can start talking rationally, and you can start being a bit more patient and tolerant of things and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm intrigued is that, does that mean that just like we mentioned how LLMs enable you to master text, to understand text and stuff, there's a model at the back where they now acquire emotional intelligence, and then these robots, these digital elements were trained on, like, how are they trained? Do they like
Yeah.
observe humans? Do they like from videos, or how does that happen? Where do they get this?
Sure, sure. So UneeQ has our own intellectual property called synonym. We love our puns, okay? So
Hmm.
synonym stands for synthetic animation. Synonym.
Okay.
And
All right.
again, we're a company full of pranksters and jokesters, and we love our naming conventions. So synonym is our way of approaching this problem of
Hmm.
automatic and dynamic and responsive locomotion for the character. When
Hmm.
I say locomotion, we're physically talking about the body, hand talking, people gesturing. I'm doing it right
Hmm.
now, even though we're not on video.
Hmm.
I'm using my hands in the air as I talk, which is common for many people.
Yep. Yep.
And of course, we're talking about the emotional range of the face, right? The
Hmm.
human face is an amazing canvas on which you can craft all manner of conversation just
Yep.
with expression, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so
Exactly.
that's what we focus on in building synonym. Now, how are we doing that? I mean, obviously some of that is trade secrets. We are using we're pulling from all walks of art and entertainment.
Hmm.
Obviously, taking graphics, like we
Hmm.
are a company that comes from the world of graphics, like in Hollywood CGI and AAA games and things like that. So
Hmm.
there is a depth of understanding how to storytell from those
Hmm.
arenas, right?
Hmm.
And
All right.
using these
Okay.
tools, using
Okay.
CGI and these tools, there's a great depth and kind of a catalog of amazing films and amazing games and stories told with short fashion with like YouTube, things like that.
Hmm.
So part of it is just the storytelling expertise of our art team. Part of it comes down to that. There
Hmm.
is, of course, machine learning,
Hmm.
but we've learned through this journey. We've been on this journey for 10 years. There isn't perhaps a single way to take the range of human experience and feeling and emotion and just reduce that into purely, the statistical form of a large language model, right? To
Yep.
just put
Yep.
weights somewhere and have a
Hmm.
recursive,
Yes.
neural network kind of like
Yep.
decide what the right emotion is. That's probably not the right approach.
Hmm.
It's a part of the pipeline,
Hmm.
but it's probably not going to be the single solution in the
Hmm.
same way that it has been for language, right? So
Hmm.
there's not going to
Hmm.
be like a unique ChatGPT for emotion, probably.
Hmm.
So we
Yep.
have
Yep.
a combination, is what I'm
Hmm.
saying, of technology that makes these characters move and respond and emote
Hmm.
naturally. It's still a journey we're on too, right?
Okay.
It's not a settled problem because everybody around the world is quite different in their culture and
Hmm.
how expressive they are.
Hmm.
My own life, my own family, I married a
Hmm.
woman from Japan and her father is very different
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
my father. Where,
Okay.
these
Yep.
men are very, very, very different in the way that they kind of express themselves to the
Hmm.
world.
Hmm.
But, happy for one doesn't look like happy for the other, but they're both happy,
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you represent that
How do you
in a way
represent that?
that
Yep.
is
Hmm.
true and meaningful and familiar? Familiar is a really important word that we talk about.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you know, I I don't know you other than meeting you today, but I'm sure you and I have much different cultural backgrounds. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you think of what happy looks like, you have an image in your head, and I have a quite different image, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're both happy, right?
Yep.
So we have
Yeah.
this kind of unlimited range of possibilities
Mm-hmm.
in these characters. And so
Unlike,
one of the
unlike, I guess,
yeah,
language, right? Language, at least that's the limited number of, tags,
the,
limited words.
right,
But I think what you're
limited.
trying to point out is that we can't use LLM for human expressions and emotions, because it's
No.
just infinite.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a range of it. Like the word podcast is
Mm-hmm.
a word, and it
Mm.
doesn't really change if you say it intensely. If you're like podcast, or if you say like, oh, podcast, right? It's the
Yeah,
same word. It means
it's
the
the
same
same
thing.
word. Yes,
But
yes,
emotions
yeah,
absolutely change with that intensity,
yes, yes.
with the magnitude of how you express something.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's going to have a different opinion on if you do something, what crosses from excited into like overjoyed, or you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everyone's
I
got a
know, I
line that's
know.
quite different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I
So
guess
it's
that,
a
we at the back of our minds, like every human being, we know all that, we understand all that. But, for a machine to grasp that, right, you really need the tools and technologies. So I was just thinking, for a lay person, when they first see this technology, would they be thinking like, wow, look at this chatbot. It's now talking to me. It's now, acting, it seems to be way more emotionally savvy. Would it occur to people like it's a next version of a chatbot, because that's what everyone's becoming accustomed to right now, right? When they visit websites or go to their
yeah.
telco service provider, is that at the first instance? Is that the thought that will come to people? It's another chatbot, but
I
it's an intelligent one.
I think that there is a range of reactions. I think
Mm-hmm.
that technical people who maybe their vocation is in natural language processing and they've been using chatbots. I think those people naturally see the evolution. But the
Mm-hmm.
more interesting thing for me are the non-technical people who
Mm-hmm.
have been sort of left behind. Like, think
Mm-hmm.
about this, okay? There are millions, hundreds of millions of people who have dedicated their professional lives to business and technology, and they think they live, they sleep, they eat, they breathe kind of technology and business.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to thinking that that's what everybody in the world is experiencing, and it's not true at all. There are
Mm-hmm.
billions of people in the world who are not every day watching YouTube and programming computers and thinking about AI. There's lots of people who their only interaction with technology is maybe a cell phone, and it's probably a cell phone that's a little bit out of date, a few years
Mm-hmm.
old, if
Mm-hmm.
that. There's people, in farming areas, agricultural
Yep.
strongholds of the world
Mm-hmm.
who maybe their only technology is like the actual tools of like a
Mm-hmm.
tractor or something like that, but
Yep.
not the computer, right? And so
Yep.
you and me, I've been doing this stuff since I was a kid. So of course I just believe this is how everybody experiences the world. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not the case. So
Yeah,
here's
it's
the
not the
most
case.
interesting
Yep.
thing. The most interesting takeaway from the Emma experience at the city of Amarillo is
Mm-hmm.
people who have immigrated to the United States from parts of the world that were not switched on technologically, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason people left wherever they were from and went
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else. They're looking for opportunity. They're looking for something different. There
Mm-hmm.
are people there who had never used a computer before. And when they
Yep.
saw a face, they did not think this is a new chatbot because they had no notion of a chatbot. That wasn't
Mm-hmm.
something they had ever experienced. What they saw was something they recognized, a face.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I see.
face meant that they understood without training, without instruction, what do? I talk to a
Mm-hmm.
face. I
Yep.
talk to a face in my language.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I try my second language if I'm learning English. I assume in
Mm-hmm.
America I'm learning English.
Mm-hmm.
And the face talks back. And so
Mm-hmm.
the beauty of what we've kind of chanced upon here
Mm-hmm.
is that it's the great leveler. It's the
Mm-hmm.
great equalizer in
Yep.
terms of making people who don't like technology,
Yep.
including them in the technology revolution that a lot of us, we think, oh, this is happening everywhere and it's been
Mm-hmm.
happening for decades.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is there are billions of people that are still
Yep.
unfamiliar, and they're not going to learn Python, and they're not going to figure out how to type 60 words a minute on a keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to give them
Yes. Yes.
an interface that is easy and approachable, has no learning curve,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it gives them the power to interact with AI, and it kind of like includes more people, more of humanity in this
Yeah.
journey. And so to people listening to this podcast who think, well, everybody knows technology, that it's such an insular view that I have to constantly remind myself what we're building is for everyone else.
All
We're
right.
not building
And
this to be
yeah.
better for us.
Yeah, and yes, and you guys are bringing this technology and making it really very native to humans, right? So you
Yeah.
say it like it's so native for us to just see a person and say hi, and therefore when we have the same thing appearing on screens, people will start interacting straight away very seamlessly. You don't have to tell them what to do, and I think that's a great thing, and that's basically it moves away from the traditional now technologies where you basically need a certain level of expertise to handle that, and that's why a lot of people in say who are in 50s or 60s call their kids and say, can you configure this on my phone? I can't seem to be able to call. How do I do this and stuff? Because it's really not native for us, not native for humans, right? So you need certain level, you need to master a certain level of technical lingo for you to be able to interact. And but what you guys are doing now is that making it so native, that making it accessible to everyone regardless of their background and so forth. And I think from there, there's another point that I thought that we can talk about today, which is okay, let's say you now have human employees, right? And they are interacting with the AI digital humans. So what benefit do they get out of this? What learning that happens when that sort of interaction takes place?
Absolutely. I like to use the metaphor comparing it to baseball. If you've ever swung a bat at a ball or a stick at anything, right?
Yep.
The first time you miss, which is probably the first time you try, it's quite an enlightening thing about how hard it is to do that if you don't practice. And so practice becomes the mantra for people in sport, for sure. We've all heard practice makes perfect, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's the same with interacting with people. Like practice is what makes people better communicators and better, socializers and things like that. And it's really not native for everybody. I myself am not a person who thinks I'm very social. I find myself energized when I take walks by myself and I'm kind of like, exercising by myself or whatever. So I really like my alone time. And interacting with people is something that when I was younger, I didn't know how to pick up on everybody's social cues and how they're feeling. And it just wasn't natural to me. Right. So as a child, I'm kind of just like bulldozing through, school and groups and clubs. And I think people just got the feeling that I was a bit of a tornado, kind of coming through and blowing it
Okay.
away. Yeah.
Yes.
And you really have to practice how to interact. And that's what the digital human simulation tools that we create do. So we have a platform that is specifically helping people train how to talk. So one of them is how to practice for an interview. This is for young people who are looking to join the job force, maybe graduating high school or college. And they may have learned lots of things in their studies, but one of them was not, how to represent myself to somebody interviewing me in a condensed format. And there are plenty of college programs that try to simulate this. I mean, you may have done one. I did one. It's not enough. One's not enough. You're not going to,
Yep.
like, to use the baseball metaphor, you're not going to swing the bat one time and then go up and hit a home run when it's time to do it in a game, right? You have to swing that bat 100,000 times, and then you might have a chance of hitting that home run. So we need to simulate these conversations, and we need to give people the ability to just talk naturally off the top of their head. So the digital human, as interviewer, gives you unlimited chances to have that conversation and dial in what you want to say, right? And it's the classic, politician practicing their speech in the bathroom mirror before they walk out on stage
Yeah.
and speak
Mm-hmm.
to the audience. I mean, it's just that classic thing of the batting cage, right? Doing
Mm-hmm.
it
Yep.
in an enclosed environment that's
Mm-hmm.
safe. If you mess up, it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
right?
because you're
We'll
not
do it
gonna.
again.
Yeah, and because
you
no
know,
one's going to judge you, right? The digital humans are not going to judge you. So
precisely.
really, yeah,
No
so
judgment.
that's a good space for you to train. Yep.
Yep. And we have that for sales as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
selling is hard. I've spent some of my career purely as like an account rep doing sales. It is a very difficult thing to just walk into somebody you've never met and, hello,
Mm-hmm.
please buy my thing, right?
Yep.
Please transact. And
Yep.
that's another, to use our telco analogy, where people are showing up kind of with an emotional charge. Sales is
Mm-hmm.
that, right? The
Yep.
customer usually is on the defensive, right? Okay, this person's trying to sell me something and they've got their
Mm-hmm.
guard up, which is
Mm-hmm.
very similar to our telco story of people calling in feeling like, this is going to be a battle because I have to
Yeah.
navigate through this web of,
Yep.
dark matter,
Yep.
inside.
Yep.
So there's a lot of instances in life, of course, they have an emotional angle, and you
Mm-hmm.
show up and you already kind of feeling some way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of human communication. That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about when we say
All right.
that we need emotional digital humans. If that element is missing, if the emotional side is missing, a lot of the conversation can't really take place. So chatbots, they failed because of this. They're literally just text messages. And that is
Mm-hmm.
the most minor amount of how
Mm-hmm.
people actually interact with each other,
Yep. Yep.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's not the words we
Yeah.
use, right?
It's not the
It's all
words.
the
Yep.
stuff. It's not at
Mm-hmm. It's
all.
everything
And
else, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything else. And with our children, with our partners,
Mm-hmm.
with our parents, a lot of times, like I said, it's what we don't say that
Yep.
communicates volumes. And so the digital humans and kind of AI in general, absent the ability to interpret those elements,
Mm-hmm.
will never rise to the level of acceptability in society
Mm-hmm.
that we require of other humans. So like I said, we're just trying to make the digital humans acceptable to the humans, and that is
Mm-hmm.
providing all those inputs and understanding those cues, those
Mm-hmm.
signals that are coming from
Okay.
humans. Right?
Okay.
It's
Yep.
actually a very important thing, but until you experience it, it's difficult to articulate why it matters.
Yep. And maybe, we've talked about the concept of AI digital humans, and we know that UneeQ has a huge presence in this space. So maybe it's time for us to talk about your solutions, and maybe one or two use cases or case studies that you have.
Absolutely. So, of course, we have, I mentioned the city of Amarillo. We have some other case studies. One that
Mm-hmm.
I'll mention because it came up earlier in our conversation. A few
Mm-hmm.
years ago, we did a limited time proof of concept with AARP.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure your audience, they're probably not all in the US, but AARP is a group that services the older generation in America. So people, I
Mm-hmm.
think 62 and older, maybe 65 and older.
Oh, okay.
These are people who need to sign up for benefits. You usually transition away from your profession, your work, and in the
Mm-hmm.
America, of course, the health insurance usually goes
Yep.
with your employment. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you get into your elderly years, when you're sick, again, I don't remember if it's 62 or what, but you need to sign up for Medicare because that's the government sponsored health insurance for
Mm-hmm.
people of that age and older.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process of doing this, as you can imagine, is quite murky, quite
Yes,
difficult.
it
It
is.
can vary
Yes.
by state. And
Mm-hmm.
so we did a pilot with AARP to get a digital human to help people through the process of signing up for
Okay.
Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
And we got, I mean, absolutely the preference of these individuals far and away was for the
Mm-hmm.
digital human versus any other non-human modality. So if a human could be on the phone, yeah, everybody wants to talk to a person. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not scalable. It's not
Yep,
like
it is.
a
Mm-hmm.
possibility to really consider. It just can't work that way because we can't hire enough people, can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
So the digital human was miles ahead of the phone, of email, of chatbot, of an online form, any other way to sign up. I mean, the digital human just demolished those
Okay.
modalities. And so this is, to my earlier point, it's the great equalizer, because these people, like let's say somebody 65 doesn't want to call their son or daughter. There's a part of that where I think for that adult who's been in business and had a career and raised children, there's part of that that's kind of embarrassing, that I don't understand. I need to call my son or daughter to help me. They don't want to do that either. There's a bit of pride, right? So
Yep.
these people were able to just see a digital human and start asking questions. And then boom, digital, sure, I can help you sign up. Let's start with your details. Can I get your name? And so the process was beneficial emotionally for that person, because it was kind of empowering, right? Without any need to feel frustrated, like, I don't understand this. How do I do this? All that goes away. The feeling of frustration goes away. And now it's a collaborative process where you're accomplishing. And that it's a subtle undertone of what's going on in that conversation. It's not something you could point to and say, oh, I feel a sense of accomplishment, right? That's not how those things play out. But when people say, oh, I really like this, and you're like, well, why? A lot of times they're like, oh, I'm talking to it. They can't really articulate their emotions, because humans, I think in general, we feel our emotions. We don't, label our emotions. Lots of us are not good at expressing them with words. Agreed? So the kind of really interesting case study that came out of that for AARP was, we equalize by removing the barriers to adoption. And it was true. It's true in the city of Amarillo as well, that people who are older actually like the digital human more in
Yeah.
general
Yep.
than younger people. Some younger people don't dislike it, but they would say, well, I know how to do this on my iPhone with a form. So for some young people, because they know another way to solve their problem, it's sort of A or B. Yeah, this or
Yep.
that. But
Yep.
for many people, it's only, this is the only way that I
Yes.
interact with
Yes.
technology. I have no other way. And
Yep.
that shows a distinct preference in the data. So that's really interesting. In telco, again, I don't want to give away the name, so I'm having to choose my words here. But we have seen an experiment that is now being carried through to production rollout, where a digital human on a website was more effective at selling the kind of breadth of services that a telco presents. Usually it's things like a bandwidth plan, a broadband plan, but there are accessories that go with that. Do you need
Yep.
an additional device in your house that increases the strength or the area of your signal so that you can get Wi-Fi when you're in your backyard, stuff like that. And so what we found was, if you just put a website, a traditional, beautiful looking, click driven website up, more often than not, if you offer A, B, and C options, the customers go for B. They go for the middle plan. And the logic is simple. I don't want the cheap one, because that's probably a bit crap. And
Yep.
you're trying to overcharge me for the expensive one, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I go for the middle one, because I think that that's probably what's in my best interest. And companies know this, right? The digital human was more effective at taking people from B and getting them to buy C.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
because the human had questions. Why? Why does C cost more than B? What do I get if I spend this money? And the digital human was able to have that conversation on the level, by which I mean without techno jargon and techno babble like you would see on a traditional telco's website. We don't need to talk about megabits and megabytes and throughput and all this stuff, right? They want to know, when Sunday comes around and I'm watching football, is it going to, be interrupted? Can I have the football on, and can my son or daughter be playing their video game? Those are the
Yep.
types of questions that they would
Yep.
ask.
All
And
right.
the digital human
Okay.
can say, oh, I see. You have a lot of media going on in your house. Here's why you need this C plan, this bigger
Yep.
plan. And more
And
people ultimately would buy as a result.
wow. Well, I think that it's very clear, from the city of Amarola, that that case study that you mentioned, where we are tackling, the younger population, and then on the Medicare sign-ups, the older population, and then we come back to the telco case study, where it's an excellent way, the use of digital humans to drive take-ups, to drive engagement. And therefore, I think for telcos per se, this is something that, not just worth exploring, but I think is something that they must have in place, despite, everyone becoming like tech savvy. And so I can say that because I've been in tech for so long, I would still go for this digital humans, because I don't want to strain my eyes, and I don't want to strain my brain trying to understand, what's this. And like you said, I don't want to be reading about, latencies and bandwidth and stuff like that. I just want you to sell something like plain old English, and with the expressions, and being able to be emotionally connected, so that you understand what's being said, and then you are convinced, and you don't have to think so hard, and you can make your decision. And like you said, yeah, from B to C, I think I can already see myself doing that, going from
Yeah.
B to C, because it's the obvious thing, because it becomes so clear, it's seamless for me to transact, to choose. I don't have to run through so much tax and stuff. And I guess, well, that's a very interesting solutions, actually, the solution that you guys have here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel the same way as you, Tara. I've spent my entire life, not my professional life. I am a computer nerd to my core. Okay. So from my childhood, I have had this fascination with machines that go beep. And I can tell you that I don't want the balance of my life to be at the struggle that the early part of my life
Yes.
was with
Yeah.
technology,
Yes.
right? I
Yes,
just
I can
want things to
understand that.
work. I
Yeah.
just want them to be easy. I know how they work. I
Hmm.
studied it. I learned it,
Hmm.
and guess what? I'd rather it just work for me than me have to work for it. And
Yeah.
so
Understood.
that's what,
Understood. Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
we have done
All right.
effectively, right? So
Yeah.
AI is that promise finally that they can just
Okay.
talk like us, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah. And Tyler, I guess, yeah, we've sort of come to the end of our session today. And I guess it was really interesting learning these concepts. And, I feel that, I can't wait to see, the digital human in action. Hopefully, such solutions become more available in more parts of the world. And I hope that telcos, start exploring them. And if they do, that will be a boon to all customers. So I
Yes,
guess thank you so much, for
you're
joining us
welcome.
and sharing all these insights.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, awesome. And I guess to everyone tuning in, thank you guys for listening. If you want to learn more, visit www.digitalhumans.com. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Wonderful website, actually. And follow us for more updates and insights as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecommunications. See you in our next session. Bye bye.